Hi friends and neighbors, welcome back to the channel. I'm Magic Bendy, and right now I'm going to do something a little different than what I've been doing. Now, as many of you know, what I have been doing is the 4-minute fortunes. And if you don't know what 4-minute fortune is, stand by for a shameless plug. 4-minute fortune is when I take a deck of fortune cards, like my Madame Endora's fortune cards here, which we're going to talk about today. I give them a shuffle, I give them a cut, I take the top card off, and I give a reading on that single card, and I do it in the neighborhood of 4 minutes. Under 5 minutes for sure. Sometimes it's a little less than 4 minutes, sometimes right at, sometimes a few seconds over, but right around 4 minutes or so you can get on with your busy day. I want to give you some encouragement, enlightenment, entertainment, and positivity for your day, but I appreciate your time as much as I appreciate that you're here, so I want to get you moving as quickly as possible. So we do that in about 4 minutes or so. That's on this channel. Go look it up, 4-Minute Fortune with Magic Bendy. And if you like what you see, give me a thumbs up, hit that like button, maybe subscribe, leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you. So there we go, shameless plug over. Right now, what I'm gonna do though is not give a reading, but I am gonna talk about the Madame Endora's fortune cards. Why? Because I've had so many people ask me about these particular cards, what I like about them, why I'm using them, what is it that I'm using. So as you may know, in my 4-Minute Fortune readings, I use another deck of fortune cards along with these, but primarily it's been the Madame Endora's fortune cards. And that's because these are my favorite fortune cards. These are, this is what's considered an oracle deck. It is not a tarot deck. And I want to give a brief overview and tell you what I do and don't like about these cards. I guess you could call it a review, but it's more of a personal overview. So you can decide for yourself whether you might want to go out and get some of these and use these, whether they're, find out if they're right for you. And they might not be right for you. But hopefully I can give you some information on that so you can decide for yourself. Okay? So, yep, these are the Madame Endora's fortune cards. They come in a typical cardstock tuck box. Has the little notch there so these easy open. On the inside of the lip of the box, it says, "May your path be blissful and prosperous." And I read that without my glasses, but I'm not going to try that again. Okay. And inside the box, you get this booklet, and the booklet just has the different images of the cards, what they mean, how to kind of read a little bit. So I tell you what I do with these particular types of booklets. They're nice to have. I always read through the booklet to find out where the creator of the deck, where the author of the deck intended to go with this particular deck, what they believe the use should be or what they hope it to be. So I can get a feel and understanding of that. So I have that foundation. And then I don't discard the book, obviously, because this deck is 4 years old or so almost, and I still have the booklet. But I do put it in a drawer somewhere, and I don't reference it when I do readings. I just kind of get familiar with the deck with that book. I don't even study it. I just kind of peruse it real quick. So I'm going to read a couple of things off the back of the box. I'm not going to read the entire back of the box, but in order to do so, I have to put my glasses on because I'm old and I can't see the little itty bitty print down there. You see, I can see this up here, but you see these baby prints here? These old guys can't read the baby print. I can't read it. So I got to put the glasses on. So don't you go laughing at me. You kids be quiet, okay? Here we go. There you go. That's your entertainment for the day. Madame Endora's fortune cards featuring the artwork of Christine Philippak. I wanted to make sure that I said that because the artwork on these is very, very unique, very cool. And it says that they're the fastest and easiest way to discover what the future holds. This deck is easy to learn if you're an intuitive type of reader, and we'll get into that in a minute. It blends old world myth and lore, Egyptian, Celtic, and fantasy themes. It says each card features its own unique fortune. For a quick reading, we'll get into that. These are published by Monolith Graphics out of Cleveland, Ohio. This has a copyright of 2003. So these have been around a while. I've been using them, like I said, I think for 4 years or so now. And this is actually my second deck. I had to replace a deck because I wore it out. So yeah, Monolith Graphics, I assume they're still in business because you can still get these cards. And inside the box, let's talk about the cards. The backs of these cards are gorgeous. It is classy, classic, elegant, mysterious. I think that's a really good blend of all of those things. You've got the muted gold. They're not metallic at all. You got muted gold on a black background with a black border. These are just gorgeous backs. I think of all the Oracle cards and tarot card decks that I've seen and that I have, the backs of these are just gorgeous. And we'll get into the artwork on the fronts of them. The fronts, they all have a black border and black backgrounds. And because of that, I have a complaint. It's the edges. The edges of these cards are white. I think with the black background, black edges, and the black on the images, I think the best thing they could have done was have black painted edges. I think that would have made these cards so much more aesthetically pleasing, more mysterious, and classier looking. And I know that would drive up the expense. I personally am okay with that. I'd rather, like I said, this is a second deck. I wore out a deck. I'd rather have a deck rather than spend 17 or 18 bucks to buy a new deck every couple of years. I would rather spend 30 or 40 bucks on a deck and never have to replace it. Take it with me everywhere I go. And that's not the case with these. So I know that it would have driven up the cost, but I think black edges on here would have been better. Or gilded edges. Gold edges with the gold that's in the back of these. I think gilded edges would have been also very classy and very nice. I do think the black would have worked better though. Now, if you have a deck of these and you think, yeah, I wish I had, black edges on my cards. My first deck, this is my replacement deck. My first deck, I fixed that issue. I took a Sharpie marker and I took each individual card and I took that Sharpie marker around the edge of each card. And then I blew along the edge to dry the Sharpie marker ink, and then placed it down, grabbed the next card, and did the same thing. And I did that for the whole deck, and it ended up having black edges, and it worked very well. And another thing that we'll do is when these start to wear out, can you see that little nick that's right there on that spider card? There's a nick on my finger too. I cut my finger the other day. But there is like a little nick in the card there. That's going to happen on the edges of these cards, and it's going to get worse and worse and worse. So if they were coated in some way or thicker stock, that would prevent that. But also if they had black painted edges, when those nicks happen, they wouldn't be as prominent either. So that's one complaint, is the edge of the cards is white. I think they should be black or at the very least gilded. Card stock on these, they're good, decent card stock, kind of typical. I think I have some other cards that are thicker. I have other cards that are about the same. So these are typical. They're not too flimsy, but I do wish that they were coated. If they were plastic coated, it would protect the cards and they would last a lot longer. Protect them from nicks, bends, spillage. I don't know if somebody's gonna spill their coffee on them or whatever, but if they were plastic coated, it would increase the lifespan of these cards tenfold. Or thicker card stock. If they were twice as thick, yeah, they'd be a little harder to shuffle, bigger box, fatter box to put them in or whatever. But I have other sets of cards that are thicker card stock, and they're just fine. It just has to be, you have to get used to it. It has to be something you get used to. Rather than thicker card stock, though, I wish they were coated. They kind of have a glossy finished look to them, but they're not. They're just cardboard. There's no coating on these. So, yep, those are my complaints. Now, what I do like about these cards is it mentions that they have fortunes on them, and it mixes old world style with Celtic images, you know, and fantasy. So I'm going to show you some. I'm not going to go through the entire deck, but I'm going to show you some of the artwork to show you how they mix those themes and how well it works. And then we'll talk about the fortune. So, for example, the Egyptian artwork. This is the king. So clearly Egyptian artwork on there, or Egyptian themed. And it says authority and diplomacy. So the name of the card is at the top and the fortune's at the bottom. Authority and diplomacy. Now, what does that mean? That's not really a fortune. That is a kickstart for your intuition. And that's why I want to get into how these cards read. I don't know that I'd say these are a beginner deck of cards. They read easy, and they're easy to learn, and they're a lot of fun for somebody who already does readings and is intuitive in their reading style. If you have to have the card tell you exactly what the card means, and you're straight down the middle of the road, cannot deviate, the card means this or this, depending on how it's turned or whatever, you know, like if you are a stringent card reader and you let the card define what the card means, these are not going to work for you. If you're more intuitive, these are going to be fantastic, because the fortune that's at the bottom of these is very basic to kind of give you a feeling of what the card means in a general foundational sense, but you have to build from that completely, all, you know, flying without a net, right? You got to do that all on your own based on your intuition. So if you're an intuitive reader like I am, these are fantastic because these are not cluttered with something that's going to hinder your intuition or make the person you're doing the reading for think that you took things in an odd direction because the card said this and you said that, and when they don't necessarily understand that you understand that you didn't deviate from what the card means, but it's not going to throw somebody off from your intuitive reading. So that's what I like about these, is the fortunes on these are fantastic. The spider, be meticulous and patient. Be meticulous and patient. So it's not really a fortune, is it? That is a kickstart to your intuition. You have to read the person you're giving the reading for. You have to read the situation. You have to feel the energy of the situation and then lean on your intuition almost entirely once you reveal what the card is. So I like that, but it might not be so good for anybody who's very strict in how they read, or beginners. Anybody who's not comfortable expressing your intuition and exercising your intuition with whoever you're reading for. If that's not a comfort zone for you, then these cards are not going to be right for you. So here's another Egyptian one, the black cat. Your luck will soon change. Well, luck about what? When is soon? What luck? Well, you have to read the situation. You have to be intuitive. So that isn't a lot of noise that's going to inhibit your intuition. It's going to kickstart it. Let's see. The shield. This is kind of European looking, Celtic looking. The dragon. This is definitely Celtic in nature. So I'll give you a feel of some of the things. Artwork. Elements. Here's the air. I think this looks Celtic to a degree, but kind of European classic too. The stars. This is a very simple design, but it's still elegant. It's just very elegant. Let's see, the key. I collect antique keys. I love keys and the symbolism of keys. So this is one of my favorite cards, even though the image on there is very basic, right? But it's still elegant and classic for sure. Locked doors can now be opened. That's the fortune on that one. Locked doors can now be opened. What locked doors? What doors are locked? What is that referencing? It's where your intuition comes in, right? That's where you actually do the reading. That's where you get into the reading. And like I said, if you can't rely on your intuition for these cards, then you're going to be a little bit out of luck. The Harlequin and Mr. J. That's a different Harlequin. But yeah, there's the Harlequin. Very elegant dagger. Some of these have like a mysterious kind of feel to them. That's kind of very Renaissance. Here's one, the Wolf. Now this is Celtic and very European in design. That's to me, that doesn't look like a wolf. I mean, it does, because I mean, if you take time to look at it, it does look like a wolf. It looks more like a werewolf. But that's Celtic in design, especially in the border of that picture. But very European, classic European. And there's another one in here. I think it's the Chimera. Let's see if I can find the Chimera. The Oracle. This is another Egyptian one. The Moon. Another one that mixes some Egyptian imagery. Serendipity. This is, there's some feminine cards, feminine artwork in some of these cards, and they're all gorgeous. Hindrance. Hindrance. This is such a beautiful card for such a negative kind of thing. Here it is, the Chimera. So this is very, very similar to the wolf. But a Chimera is typically the head of a lion, the body of a goat, and the tail of a serpent. So that fits the bill, but it also looks like the wolf. So that's very European. This, the Raven, darkness looms on the horizon. That's the Fortune, right? So you got to go with your intuition and take that where it needs to go. But the very, very cool artwork. That's one of my favorites as well. Along with the Key, the Raven is one of my favorite ones. I used to actually leave the Raven out of the deck. I actually used to leave 2 or 3 of these cards out of the deck because they seem to be kind of negative, and I don't want to give negative readings or send anybody into any kind of panic. But I've learned that negatives can be turned into positives. There's 2 sides of every coin, and I've learned how to use and interpret those in a way that is helpful and not detrimental to whoever I'm giving the reading for. And I love the artwork on the card. So I no longer leave those cards out, but that's something you can do in your readings, right? If there's a particular card that doesn't suit your style, doesn't suit your goals for your readings, or if the artwork just doesn't sit right to you, if the card doesn't feel right to you, there's no law that says you have to give a reading with every single card that's in the deck. You can take 1 or 2 or 3 cards out of a deck that might be problematic for you, even though or if you have those that you are going to have difficulty reading, you just can't get, you just can't read, that you kind of get stuck on. Take them out of the deck. There's no rule that you have to have every one in the deck, right? The Golem. This is very cool. This is very Dungeons and Dragon looking-y, but the Golem. That is a close friend acts on your behalf. So that makes sense. Golems can kind of be a bad thing in some mythological tales, right? But they always are doing the work, the dirty work for somebody else. So that makes sense. A close friend acts on your behalf. So that's something where it looks like kind of a negative image, or somebody might be familiar with golems in mythology, might think, oh, that's not so good, but that's not the case, because if you're the one controlling the golem is going to work on your behalf, and they're going to do it until they're unable to, stopped, right? So that's actually a good card. The Knight, that's a good one. Knight. The Wizard, very mythological. So that's just, and I'll talk about this one. It'll be the last one I talk about. The Seer, follow your intuition. Now the Seer is the same image that we see on the box. It doesn't say it's a seer here. And it doesn't say on the box what the seer card says, but it says follow your intuition. I think that is very clever, very telling, that the seer is the card that is featured as the image on the box, to sell the box, to attract you to the box, to attract you to the product in the box, the deck in the box, right? Very, very clever, very, very subtle. And if you don't know this deck, maybe that's a subtle way to see if you can read with your intuition the way the deck is supposed to be used. So the seer is the card that they use on the box, and the seer says follow your intuition. And that's exactly what you have to do with this deck. Follow your intuition. So I like the deck for that. I'm an intuitive reader, and I'm good with that. And so these are good for intuitive readers. They're not too complex. They're easy to learn. They're a lot of fun. The people I do readings for love these cards, love the readings with these cards. And that's why these are my favorite cards to do readings with. They're just elegant. They're beautiful. They kickstart your intuition without hindering it and keeping you too restrained. So as a working deck, this is a working deck if you're doing readings and you want to do readings that aren't tarot readings, you want to do oracle readings. This is a fantastic oracle deck. I can't recommend it anymore. I mean, it's just all the thumbs up, all the stars, all the thumbs up. The only problems I have with it are aesthetic. I would prefer black, or at the very least gilded edges, and a coating on the cards so that they're protected, because these will wear out. You shuffle them, you use them, you shuffle them, they're going to get kind of icky. They're going to wear out. They're going to get bent up, nicked up. And maybe that's what you want. Maybe you want your cards to look aged and feel aged. I don't. I like nice, crisp, clean, elegant cards. That's not to say that they're not without their personality if you let them get worn. I collect antique keys. I don't clean those up. I go to an antique store, and the first place I go is keys and silver dollars. And my silver dollars, I also don't polish up. I've got silver dollars that are 130 some odd years old, and they look like they're 130 some odd years old, and they've been in somebody's pockets and, stagecoach robberies and whatever. They have personality. They've got history that's almost tangible. And there's mystery there because you don't know who's held that coin or who held that key or what door that key opened. So I collect antique keys, I collect antique coins, silver dollars specifically, not a bunch of other coins, just silver dollars. There's also something very special about silver. And since I'm not a werewolf, I can play with my coins and it's not gonna bother me. So, yeah. So those coins, those keys, they have personality because of their flaws. Because of their flaws, they're beautiful. So you might think your deck is even better when it's nicked up, dented up, wrinkled up, banged up, gummed up, right? You might like the deck better. You might have some more, character to it. And that's great. If that's what you like, you're gonna like this deck, because this deck can get that way pretty quick with regular use. But it is a gorgeous deck. It is absolutely recommended and fantastic if you're an intuitive reader. And sorry I took up so much of your time, but I wanted to give a reading. So many people have asked me about this deck in particular. I wanted to share my thoughts on it and maybe give you a little insight on it and give you my idea about using the Sharpie marker, which I did for the deck before this one, but this is a replacement deck and I've not bothered with that yet, but I think I might color the edges black. So look for me on 4 Minute Fortune, and maybe you'll notice black edges on my Man of Endora's cards one day, and you go, he took the time to sit down and color those edges. So yeah, and then the Sharpie marker on the edge, you don't see the nicks on the edge so much either when you do get a nick on the card. So just a suggestion. But I hope that helps. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope it's been informative and enlightening. And that's just a little journey into my mind about this specific deck. But I've been Magic Bendy. You've been fantastic. That's going to do it for today. Come see me on one of my 4-Minute Fortune videos. Love to have you. Love to have you as a subscriber as well. And that's going to do it. Thanks, guys. Have a great day. God bless.